Well folks, this week there will be no fishing film. The weather is, some of you people can put it in the comments page, absolutely horrific. I think the last 3 weeks have been. Rain, wind. So the beaches are blasted, the rivers are over their banks. I just can't be bothered to do it. But, in my little file there, I found a sequence, it's only about 20 minutes or something like that long, of Ryan cutting down a tree that I had to have. And I like trees, you know I like trees, but this one is a result of some of you guys on the comments page saying, Graham, you've got to get that tree down. It was dead, it had been attacked by honey fungus, the leaves have all curled. It was a giant weeping willow tree, and once we started getting huge branches snap and crash down, hey, hang on, it's not that it could hit me, it could hit the wife, it could hit the grandchildren. It's got to come down, but with Ryan, our tree surgeon, he's made it very interesting, and there's some nice pictures you can see of just how high up a tree Ryan goes with a chainsaw. Enjoy. Well, it's come to that stage, folks, where Ryan, our very knowledgeable tree surgeon, has come to, I won't say dispose of totally, but to reduce by a huge amount the monster willow tree that, in fact, some of you guys said when I found the honey fungus, was it last autumn around the base, said, Graham, it's kaput, it's now dangerous. So Ryan did just say just now, while he's roping to go up there, that with the bark peeling off, it can get wet inside the root, so it's rotting from the inside. So the whole thing's not going to topple over for God knows how long, but the branches coming down are a risk. So he's up there, up that rope, making a lot of noise with a chainsaw. I'm going to have so much stuff for my log burner, it don't bear thinking about.
cramp in a minute. Remember to thank whoever used this in the yard.
Is that a triangular file or
no, this is just a round file.
A round file?
So there's several different files. There's a new thing out now where they're either hex files, square files or triangle, I can't remember, one of the three. They're a new type of file that they're really good. I've heard a lot of good things about them. But
so you're doing the underside of the cutting edge there, am I right?
Yeah, pretty much. So you've got several different angles. You've got the top angle, the top plate angle, which is a certain degree, and then you've got the hook on the side, which is a certain degree, and then the tilt with it, so that you get this cutting corner. And all I'm aiming to do is get a nice top plate angle and the cutting corner, which then denotes a nice shaving that's cut off. And then these depth gauges in front denote how thick the shaving is. So these sort of come off, these are about sort of that thick. If I was to file that all the way off, it would be really sort of rickety and sort of bite into the wood, and it wouldn't cut a piece off.
So the actual cutting blade's quite a long space apart between them, aren't they, really?
Yeah, there's sort of that and that is between the two, and then obviously on that side it takes a whole chunk out of the tree. But,
So Ryan, we got the tree down at long last, and when I say we, I mean you. You got the tree down. So the guys on the comments page, you know, they all said get that down, Graeme, because it's got honey fungus. So just tell us sort of history of willows, the wood, you know, and stuff like that, and signs to look for.
Yeah, I mean the willow, quite a soft wood generally. It's quite susceptible to rot and stuff. It's very common to find them all around sort of the wet areas and so on. Is
that one different to what I've heard? So cracked willow.
So cracked willow is there's several different types of willow or salix, and sort of that one I would have thought would have been a weeping willow,
yes,
which is a little bit different to sort of cracked willow sort of history and type. In that sort of those are more sort of ornamental in the garden type thing. You do get them growing by sort of rivers and so on and so forth, but most of them are just garden ornamental, and you get so many different varieties of them.
So there's no real reason that one's died, because we had it nearly down to...
Yeah, there's no real special sort of incident where something would target that more than other things. It's just one of those things. It might have been a bit stressed in the heat or whatnot throughout the last couple of years, and then honey fungus has just got in and finished it off.
That's the sign. They did say that is a sign of the tree's done.
Yeah. Sometimes, more often than not, it's usually when there's been sort of excavation around the roots and stuff.
Oh, really?
And then sort of any sort of wounds and stuff when they've been digging around roots, it sort of gets in that way.
Okay,
kills them off.
You were saying it stops in the cambium layer, and I forgot the other one you were saying.
Yeah, so there's sort of two different layers under the bark, which is known as the phloem and then the cambium. So the phloem is what sort of takes nutrients and so on down into the roots, and then the cambium is what takes sort of water back up and nutrients and stuff all into the tree, and that's just the functional wood. And then you go more into the heartwood, which is sort of non-functional wood.
Yeah.
Which is sort of more or less doesn't have a use other than slight structural.
Now they say, somebody said, you'd be able to get a fortune for that, for cricket bats.
Yeah.
But I imagine that's a live one.
Yeah, I think there's a certain type of willow, which is sort of favoured for the cricket bats, and I think they're quite picky about what it's cut like and what it's been sort of felled like, and sort of the cracks and so on and so forth in it.
Just talking about that cutting, because people like seeing you up on that rope and that, you always tend to rope at the top and then work below that. Yeah. And you, if I seem to watch you take the bottom limbs off, is that so you can throw stuff clean, it doesn't snag?
Mostly just so it sort of work your way methodically up and around the tree, really. Taking off lower stuff. Sometimes I'll work from the top down depending on what the sort of hazards are underneath. More often than not, stuff like this, it's just easy to work from the bottom up, and then you don't get stuff all tangled and sort of, you can clear as you go. Gives you a nice sort of drop zone to
drop stuff down. Is that good? Is it good? It's probably a wet tree, is it, where we sat wise? Not the world's greatest for my old log burner?
No, not ideal. You want to mix that in with something good.
And what would I do dry? Now that's been dead a year.
Yeah.
But somebody said it would dry quicker if you cut it and stack it. And
cut it, stack it, get the air get into it, and it'll have no problem drying out. It's when it's sat and it's damp, it'll rot quite quickly. So if you've got it cut and stacked nicely in a wood store, then it should be fine. So
if I'm going to leave that, which I probably am, I might make something with Mike down the back here for a log store. Got more than enough logs now.
Yeah.
But what was the best way to put 2 logs sort of horizontal?
Yeah.
And a couple of longer ones to keep them off the ground.
Yeah, get it up off the ground. And then just store it like that. Get
plastic sheet over the top?
Yeah, something like that, or a bit of tin or something like that over the top, anything.
Do you need the airflow through it, or do you cover the whole thing in sheet?
Ideally a bit of airflow through it.
So just keep the top rain off the top?
Yeah. Most of that out there is quite dry already.
So would I be able to use that in, I'm saying, a year? Maybe
possibly
not this winter, next
possibly
winter?
Some of it, yeah. Most definitely the top stuff. Some of the larger bits lower down, they're still a little bit damp, and there was still a little bit of growth in some of it. But it probably wouldn't have lasted much more than a year.
Okay.
Sort of any dampness in that lower half, it would have been probably dead within another year, I would have thought.
If I'm going to get really enthusiastic with the old log splitting axe, is it a son of a bitch to chop in split, or is it ash like Mike has? No, straight as you like.
Some of it will be pretty knotty and a bit.
No, that's me out. Okay, yeah.
Burn those bits or get rid of them somewhere else.
Yeah, I've got a couple of ideas for ornaments for making a log store, which is a way of getting rid of them.
Yeah, habitat pile.
But the brash side of it, all the rubbish, that should burn okay.
That'll disappear quick. Yeah.
The other thing I asked you, on the outside, that bark seems to be pulling away from the actual trunk. Am I going to make a mess of that? If I wanted to peel all that off that monolith bit, would it look daft? What would happen? Because it's virtually hanging off.
Yeah, I mean, I have a bit of a. I quite like peeling it off.
It's satisfying. Wallpaper.
It's really satisfying.
Yeah.
It probably doesn't look the best. Ideally, it'd probably be better for retaining it, just to get some of that off and let it dry out, rather than it being a bit mushy underneath.
Yeah.
But
will it make it'll rot quicker with the bark on?
More than likely, yeah.
Okay.
You'll get sort of the outer softer part that will rot and go mushy and then drop off.
The trouble is, because I sold furniture for 38 years, I'm much like yourself, I like wood. So I want to peel it off just to see wood underneath, just to try and make, what can I make with that? With Graeme it's like 10 tonnes, I'm not going to make anything with it. But I appreciate cutting all that small sections, in a small section, those big ones. So you use the 2 saws, just tell people what size they are and all that.
So the larger steel is a 500i, it's a 20-inch bar on it. And usually it'll tackle pretty much most things. And then the other one is a small 200T, it's got a 10-inch bar on it, and that will tackle most of the stuff that I do up in the canopy. I mean, you've done stuff for Mike, and that's the one you use most, isn't it? Yeah, I've got a smaller one that I use for sort of more pruning, which is designed for sort of like lighter work in the tree, which weighs a lot less, so it's a lot less strain. But
and pulling it up and down that big one takes a bit.
Didn't bring it with me because I knew it would be bigger.
So when you put the fuel in, you load it down for me, I've got the fuel in it. does the oil and the fuel mix, or is that a fuel mix and it's oil for the engine, or something like that?
Yeah, so it's a 2-stroke engine. So basically, it's normal unleaded petrol.
Yeah.
And then we just mix an oil in with it as a certain ratio.
Yeah.
In a large quantity, and then sort of divvy it out in the smaller cans. And that just lubricates the engine to stop it seizing up.
And the oil up here is a chain oil.
Yeah, and
so
the
you're using,
other oil is, yeah, it runs to
is all
lubricate the
2-stroke, and I'll argue with Mike about this, all 2-stroke, I'm saying it's 50-1. Is that necessarily not true? He had a strimmer and he put 40-1 on it. He said he smokes a lot. I said,
yeah,
well,
it would be slightly oil rich.
Oil rich, that's why he's smoking. I've run it on 50-1, which I thought was the standard.
Yeah.
And it's fine. I don't get any smoke and it flies, you know.
So we mix, let me get this right, so we do a 20 litre jerry can, and it gets 400 ml of oil in it.
Gotcha, okay.
I don't know what ratio
that is, yeah.
We've just got a special jug that has the measurements, so basically it will tell you how many litres, so like a 5 litre can, all the way up on the ratio, and then opposite that it will have a millimetre and then milliliter, and then you just fill up the oil to the size can you're putting it in, and then dip it in the can and then mix it with the petrol.
Yeah, yeah.
And then that's your mix done. And then the other side of it is we use a bio chain oil. So
oh yes, is that like Aspen or something? Is that one?
There is, yeah. Aspen's is a well-known brand that do numerous products, but I can't remember where we get it from.
Yeah,
but it's
quite expensive though, aren't they? For Joe average, expensive.
Sort of. You can get sort of the ones that aren't biodegradable, but they're sort of a lot cheaper. But because we do a lot of the conservation work and sort of in and around sort of like delicate areas.
Yes, yeah.
We just switched to bio stuff.
Oh really?
Just because it's much more better for the environment as things go, and using oil and stuff isn't ideal.
Yeah.
Anything that we can do to limit sort of impact
well,
is good.
Talking about the biodegradable bit brings me on to a question I know probably other people have found. I'm always banging on about the number of bloody trees dying, and this is dying and that's dying. Have you noticed it, because you've been in it, what, 17, 18 years? Have you noticed in the last few years more stuff dying? Are they getting more stressed?
It is. I mean, as there's no hiding that sort of climate change and so on has come in forward with everything, and we're noticing a difference in the weather that we're putting up with over the summer. Some of those sort of 40-degree days that we've had, working in that is pretty horrendous, and it's having a huge detrimental effect to some of the trees in the country. Mixed with that is just an endless supply of sort of viruses and sort of diseases and bugs and stuff that are coming over.
Because of warmer temperatures, I guess.
Partly they can survive because there's not as hard frosts. If you look at some of the plantation stuff that they're doing over in Canada and stuff, some of the burrowing bugs and things that infect over there, because they're not getting as severe winters, they're finding that the bugs aren't killing them off. They're not getting killed off in the ratio that they should, and sort of keeping it managed. So over the last, I don't know how many years, I think the statistic is they've lost something like 1 trillion trees over there.
Oh my God!
Which is
without the fires.
It's phenomenal. Yeah, well, that's without the fires. And over here it's no better. We've sort of got a huge amount of sort of bugs and beetles from anywhere from Asia to Europe. There's sort of a bigger new one that's becoming a bit more well known and is now spreading a bit more, is sort of oak processionary moth.
Oh yes,
which is really unpleasant.
Does that make the leaves curl? Have I seen it sort of curl?
Not so much the leaves. It's they sort of infest and they defoliate to a degree. It doesn't necessarily cause a huge amount of detrimental effect to the tree, but the oak processionary moth has horrendous furry hair on it, which actually gets in the wind, and it can cause really, really bad rashes and stuff on people.
Oh really, on people? Oh God.
I react really bad to it. And come out in a pretty horrendous rash. I can almost stand under a tree and sort of an oak tree and tell you whether it's got oak processionary moth in it.
Yeah, the trouble is you're up in the canopy all the time.
Yeah, so there's sort of strict rules and regs that we have to adhere to with that, and sort of spotting and reporting. And the same with a lot of other things really, but it's so hard to control now with so much shipping and
Yeah, it's
all
all over.
and travel and so on. It's difficult to regulate, and they've been lax up until now with sort of plant passports.
Oh, I see. Yes,
sort
yes.
of importing trees to plant in the country, and that's where a lot of it comes from.
Yeah.
They've got a bit better with it now, but it's still quite easy to slip the net with it. And then again, with a lot of stuff that sort of supplies that comes over, a lot of the crates and things, the wood in there,
Yes.
you get a lot of that in that as well. So it's
Pallet wood, I suppose.
yeah, possibly.
my pallet wood. They don't survive my pallet wood because it goes on the log burner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
but yeah, it's not so bad. I mean, you know, the trees will generally adapt, but it will just take a bit of time. So hopefully it's not going to be too detrimental to what we're going to see sort of changing in the landscape in the future.
Well, I appreciate listen doing that. It had to come down. I had put it down for the winter, but I thought, hang on, summer evenings it's not dark till 9, 10 o'clock.
I'm glad you got it done in the summer when it was nice, and a nice evening to do it in.
It's a nice evening, yeah. Finally, as you're on the way out, I feel there's more business coming your way. Yeah. I've got a eucalyptus there, which you've seen before. You actually limmed a couple of bits on it. Could you actually have a quick look at it?
Yeah, sure.
Tell me what you think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's down right in there. You can see. If you get, there's a great big hole. If you get a screwdriver, it goes in miles. It doesn't. It's the angle of the tree.
Yeah.
Plus, I don't know how far back it goes.
It'll probably be fairly extensive in that side, but I mean, you can see that after it has had whatever's had gone on there, there's quite a lot of sort of almost a bulge here.
Yes.
So it's put a lot of reactive growth on there, and sort of it's the same on this side. There's quite a lot of reactive growth bundling over. Also, that's quite thick and bulbous down there. And
so it might be okay?
It's obviously putting a fair bit of
grip in there.
For grip and sort of a lot of cellular strength, because it knows something's not sort of, well, it's a bit untoward with it. Is it?
Because we've seen this grow since we've been here. Has it thrown that up because it knows it's on the way out?
Possibly. So what tends to happen when they get a little bit older is sort of a reiterative growth, and you get sort of a secondary crown spout up. Eucalyptus is horrendously prolific at sprouting anyway. You could chop that down to the base and it would,
it'll come again?
It would go wild again, sometimes even more so than what it is already. But as it is, there's probably...
Could last a little bit more?
Yeah, there's a little bit of stress and stuff up there. There's a few larger dead bits up there. And,
so this one here is dead then? Yeah, when you see the dead leaves, that's dead.
That's dead on that one. And there's a select few up there. So it might be that it's, I mean, certainly this year with that wet spell that we had and then the frost that we had, the eucalyptuses have really taken a bit of a hammering.
Are they shallow rooted?
Tend to be more shallow rooted than some of the other trees.
They're very, very hard. I remember when you limb that, I tried axing that, it's a no-go for me.
The trouble with the eucalyptus, they're sort of almost a helical sort of grain in it, so the grain will actually...
It twists or something, doesn't it?
It twists while it goes down as sort of a corkscrew, so it's incredibly difficult to split by hand.
I couldn't axe it, no, it's not.
When we used to do it with the log splitters, sort of the hydraulic log splitters used to have trouble with it.
Wow.
If you got it while it was wet, you'd more or less stand a chance of getting some of it off. If it was dry, it would more or less go through the chipper because it was just too much.
So something, maybe limbing for the future when we have you over something else?
Yeah, I mean, to see how it goes this year. It's obviously had a bit of a stress with what's happened earlier on in the year. See how it goes a little bit later, and we could always take some off of the top and sort of almost pollard it down and let it regrow. With an idea of maybe letting that bottom bit take over.
Yes, I think it takes a strain off that top end.
Yeah, but they take really well to being trimmed anyway, so it's you can almost do whatever you want to it.
Really?
It's not ideal practice, but then again, some of the stuff that you have to do with trees nowadays.
Well, I remember the oak tree.
Retain the trees.
The oak, you can't. It's all shot again.
When it all broke off, it's you can't prune them to best practice, but you can sort of have a good guess, and they usually come back, and then you can do sort of a bit more of a pruning program down the line, and then it sort of keeps it in check a little bit longer.
Well, brilliant. Thank you very much for that. It's always very interesting. I know all our guys like watching that stuff, climbing up the tree. I wish I could be able to do it, but those days are long gone.
Yeah.
The double ladder fully extended is me.
I'm well on the way to that as well.
there you go, I hope you enjoyed that a little bit. You might have learned something about trees there, and the fact some of you younger people might think, oh, that's really exciting, climbing 80 feet up a tree with a chainsaw. I'd like to have a go at that. Hey, why not join a college and see what you can learn about the outdoors? Can't be much better way to earn a living outdoors like that. I'm not sure I want the rope bit though. Thanks for watching this little clip for you. It's not going to be a big hitter, I know that, I realise that, it's none fishing, but there's quite a few of you out there that might be interested in something a little bit different. Next week, fingers crossed, everything crossed, is the weather ever going to settle down and get me out there on the bank, on the beach, in a boat, fishing? It needs to be good, because I am not, repeat, not wasting my time. See you in the next film.